That's a fair point.
Why do we protect our banks, our airports, and our sports stadiums with people with guns, but not our schools?
I think that that's a fair point, and that
And I'm not discounting, the background check thing, but it's incredible moral perversion. You can't get in a Dodger Stadium without seeing 50 cop cars and people with guns everywhere. You can't go to LAX without going through basically a demilitarized zone. But you could go into a local Long Beach elementary school, and we decide to not protect our kids. So we protect our airplanes and our sports teams, but we don't protect our own children.
Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel where the art of debate meets the cool side of commentary. I'm your host, The Performance. Today we'll be checking out a video titled, "Why Do We Protect Our Banks with Guns but Not Schools?" Wow, I believe this is going to be an interesting one. Let's check it out. Go.
Hi, Mr. Kirk. I'm a student here, and I really appreciate you being here today to speak with us. I care a lot about protecting children and know that you value life as well. I understand that mental health and drug issues are a big part of the violence that we see every day in America, and I know that there's no black and white solution, but wouldn't implementing stronger background checks, especially for high-powered weapons like AK-47s, be a more reasonable and effective step to prevent school shootings and protect the children?
Sure, fine. So first of all, it is very difficult to purchase an AK-47. You're probably talking about an AR-15. That's probably what you're talking about, which is not an AK-47. We do have those background checks in a lot of states. I do have to ask, do you feel safe in California walking the streets at night in Los Angeles as a woman?
It depends which area.
How about right near the downtown convention center?
Not necessarily, no.
So remember, our goal is a safe society. So just stricter gun laws does not always equal a safer society. That's just number one.
Yeah,
And
that's what I said. That's why I said that. I know that mental health is a big issue.
Huge.
But for instance, I have a 10-year-old little sister, and every day me and my parents stress about sending her to school for what could happen
it.
to her. So
That's a real question. Let me ask you, does that school have an armed guard?
I'm not entirely
That's
sure.
why you're stressing.
That's a fair point.
Why do we protect our banks, our airports, and our sports stadiums with people with guns, but not our schools?
I think that that's a fair point, and that
And I'm not discounting, the background check thing, but it's incredible moral perversion. You can't get in a Dodger Stadium without seeing 50 cop cars and people with guns everywhere. You can't go to LAX without going through basically a demilitarized zone. But you could go into a local Long Beach elementary school, and we decide to not protect our kids. So we protect our airplanes and our sports teams, but we don't protect our own children. And so you care about protecting children. I think that we should basically lock down these schools. People say, oh, I don't want our schools to be militarized. Well, then you don't want to protect our kids? You don't think you want your money to be protected at your bank? You want the payday lender to be protected, but you don't want your own children to be protected. So that's my number one solution, all that. And then I would end on to it. Listen, a lot of mental health problems. I have a different view. I think gun ownership is a right, not a privilege, and I don't think the government should get in the way of our right to be able to own firearms.
So what do you think that do you think that the government should get involved in adding armed guards to schools, or
Yes.
why isn't this more talked about? Because I feel like
in other states it is. Gavin Newsom would refuse to do this, of course. But in other states, after big school shootings, they have police officers parked outside. And in fact, school resource officers with guns have shown to prevent school shootings, limit school shootings, or even intervene before the school shooting happens. And it's going to show that these awful tragedies go from maybe 1 or 2 students dying, which is horrific, which it could have been 30 or 40 students dying, right? And so, again, at the fundamental core of it, which is your astute observation, almost every single case of these school shootings, there are some exceptions, they get the guns from their parents. It's also these kids that are in a very, very dark and troubled place. And almost always, there's warning, there's troubling signs, there are issues ahead of time that are ignored.
okay.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
you.
Thank you.
Wow. What an interesting debate. What an interesting question. Why do we protect our banks with guns, protect our sports stadium, protect different important places with guns, but not our schools? I, for one, I believe there supposed to be some guard stationed at different schools with gun in order for them to be able to protect the student, just by the fact Charlie stated in this video that gun ownership is a right, not a privilege. I totally agree with him, but I believe there should be a system whereby those entitled to guns can be totally given a thorough background check in order to check if they are in good state of mind before they are given ownership of guns, in order to prevent reckless shooting. So I totally agree with Charlie Cake's point that schools should also be protected with guns. And Charlie even made some example that a lot of those kids get gun from their parents, or probably maybe without their parents' permission, they can decide to take the gun to school, and as a result of that, they might get triggered and decide to shoot the gun. If the security station in the schools are not with gun, it will be very difficult to stop such incident from happening. And I also think that terrorists can gain access to come inside the school and do a lot of harm to the students, to the staff, if the security in the school is not well tight, and if the security men stationed in the schools are not having guns, it will be very difficult to handle such situations. Wow, very interesting. Why do we protect our bags and not our schools? Wow. So keep the comments coming. Let's get the conversation rolling. Don't forget, click on the subscribe button, click on the like button. Do have a nice day.